everyone tuning in as usual to your favorite Friday morning program. This is Tone Cry on UIC Liberty TV. I am your host, the Tone Crier, Winston Wright, spending this Friday morning with you again, and I do appreciate you being here with me this morning. As usual, we have a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about money matters, and we started something last week that we're going to continue with to let you know what is going on. Again, that's what a tone crier does, cry for you. And it's good if you get involved in the process. Just like, share, subscribe, definitely comment. And when we ask you to jump on somebody's page or send an email, take a minute, do that because it lets them know that we are active and pushing them to bring good governance. And if they don't do it, the UIC will do it for you. And again, I'll just take the time to encourage you to just go on the UIC's Facebook page. We have a lot of information there as to the good governance model that UIC advocates for a a non-partisan constitutional state. And people have mischaracterized it as different things. But it's just simply this: a country run by persons who are responsive to the people. And party politics doesn't play a part. You don't vote along party lines, as in your actions in the House of Representatives, where you go to represent your people. You directly represent your constituents, and you do everything so they can know that you are there for them. So we're not talking about communism, socialism, capitalism. We are a movement based on good governance, and that's all we do. That's all we are. So check out our Facebook page and definitely check out our website. We're building out our website every day as we speak. More information is being added. So you'll see all the information there. You'll see our manifesto. You'll get to experience the information for yourself. Don't be told by somebody else who misunderstands what UIC is for, or who is deliberately trying to mislead you, because there's a lot of that going on. But for yourself, read that information. Our manifesto is there. It is our pledge. It's our contract with you, our fellow Jamaicans. And remember, none of us in the UIC are career politicians. Absolutely none. We're all career persons with 9-to-5 jobs, working and deciding that, listen, enough is enough. 75 years of failure, of economic chicanery, of trickery, and all that kind of thievery that has gone on is enough. And it's time for us to build Jamaica for the next generation, to create a real new Jamaica, not the fake real new Jamaica that they talk about, not their lip service to removing the monarchy, not their lip service to giving true power to the people, because the UIC doesn't seek power for itself, but to remove the shackles of our bequeathed colonial constitution and make it a constitution for the people, by the people, that truly represents their interest. And that is the problem for the current crop of career politicians, because if our program of change takes place, the big money that supports them will dry up. The same big money that goes into their pocket that enrich them and their generations. Because if you look at politics these days, it's all about dynasty. How many persons have their wives and kids in politics in Jamaica now, while you're telling you that you don't qualify? How many persons are career politicians and are filthy rich, while proper business owners, entrepreneurs in Jamaica that have worked hard all their lives have gotten nowhere, but has faced hardship from draconian tax measures, downright to even government interference and government gatekeeping, which destroys their business. So those are things that UIC advocate for you to definitely have a right to seek redress by having a government that is representative of you, that you can tell exactly what to do. And we know that this government, you can't tell them what to do. No civil servant in Jamaica, you can tell them what to do, even though they work for you. We have matters pending with the Attorney General, and they have promised to get back to us, and they haven't. Matters pending with the Ministry of Health, they haven't gotten back to us. So, and there are several court actions pending for the UIC against this government, and they have not responded. They have not seeked to be atrocious about it. So you know the government is in a world of its own. It's totally removed from the lives of the ordinary Jamaican, because they have created a class for themselves, and they will continue to be classist if we don't hold them accountable. The UIC is tired of all of this. The UIC is absolutely tired of it, tired of the mayhem on the street, the murder, the indiscipline, the filth, and say, listen, we need to do something about it. We're not career politicians, but we are true patriotic Jamaicans, and we are going to do something about it. So let's put ourselves up. Let's take time from our jobs, our businesses, our careers, and say, we will represent you in the way you deserve. That's what we're doing. So this morning, the big question is going to be, how is that $830 million national budget going to be spent? Yes, $830 million. Well, for starters, you already heard about the over $40 million media campaign to convince you to take a certain medication that is coming on the market, but we'll get back to that in a bit. So we know that it's going to be spent and stuff like that. Now, the government outlined this $830 million budget. As a matter of fact, 830.8 that they have projected for this financial year, 2021 to 2022. So is it another failed financial plan? Of course it is. $830 million, most of that will never be earned in Jamaica because the current condition means that there is no tourism, which 80% of our earnings as a country or gross domestic product is predicated on tourism, whether directly or indirectly. So there is no money to be earned from tourism right now. Nobody's traveling, or very few people are traveling. So there's any meaningful earnings in that respect. So a large chunk of that budget is going to be borrowed. Borrowed from who? Borrowed from where? And guess what the big story behind that is? That $2 trillion national debt just increased by another $830.8 million, if not more. Okay? So, and these are rough figures, they're not precise figures, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. Money is going to be borrowed, we're going to owe more, which means that every single Jamaican, whether you are yet to be born or you have already been born, owes that money. And that is why the UIC does not believe in financing the national budget through borrowing. We don't believe in borrowing monies that can't be paid back in a single generation. We don't believe in deficit spending, meaning you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to spend this money, and even though I don't have the money right now, I'm going to borrow it and then find the money somewhere else. That's how these budgets are being predicated, and that's why they are failed financial programs. Okay, so $830 million has just been added to the national debt. So yes, it's another failed government program. Government needs to be restricted to a responsible size, as UIC advocates. Small size, reasonable tax rate, restricted in the amount of money you can spend, the amount of money you can borrow in the people's name. If there is a major national project or national requirement for mass spending, it needs to go to the people for approval and need to be able to be paid back through production in a reasonable time frame. But the UIC will have more for you on those things. Check our manifesto. Check our website. We're constantly uploading information, and we know they're going to imitate us and try to take these ideas and run with them. And honestly, UIC doesn't care. What we advocate is good governance. We hope that they have the stones to bring that to the people, but if they don't, we do. So look out for that. Now, we just said that it's going to be a failed financial program. But if you don't believe me, and I said so, you don't believe me, listen to the finance minister himself. And let me quote him. The minister admitted that, and he said, sadly, Mr. Speaker, for 50 years across 16 IMF programs, macroeconomic stability has eluded Jamaica. That's Francis speak. For nearly 50 years of 16 years of 16 IMF borrowing programs, as in 16 times they have gone to the IMF and said, give me big money to fix the country. Now, the country's larger economy has not been stable, has not been producing and working. That's what he said. All right? So again, across 16 IMF programs, macroeconomic stability has eluded Jamaica. 50 years, note that figure. All right? 50 years. And it could go back further. We could go back to the 75 years because over those periods, the same thing happened. It just was not as pronounced. So, do you think that there will be a difference in this year's budget, or the effect of the budget will be different? A popular scientist say if you do the same thing the same way and expect to get a different result, it is classified as insanity. We are doing the same thing. We are doing it the same way. And when I say we, I'm talking about those politicians that we hired that are unresponsive, unresponsive to us when we speak to them until election time when they're desperate to get into office. And because they know that, we don't select them. We don't. My colleague Vice President, fellow Vice President, Mr. Devon Thompson, showed you how the government works. Check out this program, the initiative. He showed you that we don't elect a prime minister. We elect MPs, and they come together as a criminal enterprise. That's what they are. Ask our president, the money doctor, he will tell you. Check out his program. And they choose a leader and go about extorting us through unreasonable taxation without any form of representation. Has your property tax provided you any streetlights? It's tax season now. They need to collect that money by April. Has your property tax provided you the streetlights that you need, that it is supposed to provide? Has your roads been repaired like your property taxes? Your motor vehicle registration, which part of it is supposed to go to road maintenance? Has that been done? The taxes and gasoline, part of it is supposed to go to road upkeep. Is that being done? Or you're swimming through craters and lakes that they try to reclassify as potholes? Tell me if I'm wrong. Because again, the minister has said it. Nearly 50 years across 16 IMF programs, macroeconomic stability has eluded Jamaica. Fancy speak for it won't work. It has never worked. Now, how that money is going to be spent? One minister said at least one major road rehabilitation project will be undertaken in each constituency. Now, we know the amount of constituencies in Jamaica, right? 63. All right. So, in each of the 63 constituencies, there's going to be a major road repair. Now, Minister Warmington, who said that, he was quite vocal in the way he said it. You know, he said things like he's very deliberate about responding directly to the needs of constituencies and does not necessarily wait for the MPs to make representation, and that he's available for the people to reach out to him about the road conditions in their communities. So, Uniters, Jamaicans, I'm going to start. I am going to reach out to Mr. Warmington and let you know what he has to say about the road conditions in my constituency. And just so you can reach Mr. Warmington, his ministry has 7 offices, one in Kingston, one in Negril. Well, 7 offices across Kingston, Negril, Sav, Montego Bay. All right? And telephone number, I'll give you the first set, 926-1590, 926-1590, and 926-1690, 1691, 1692, 1693. All right? Those are their phone numbers. Email address is info@megjc.gov.jm. info@megjc.gov.jm. I will put this information in the comments later so you have it. Now I'm asking you, fellow Jamaicans, fellow Uniters, reach out to that minister and let him know your road conditions and see if they will give you the response you deserve as a Jamaican citizen, give you the respect you deserve as a taxpayer in this country, and respond to you, and better yet, fix your road as promised. Then on top of that, look how much of the money is going to be mismanaged and if your road is going to be fixed properly. I can guarantee you will have none of those. But I'm humble enough to eat crow if I'm wrong. And I stand really and ready. All the UIC cares about is good governance. All the UIC cares about is good governance. We don't care where it comes from. But we stand willing to do it if nobody else is. And so far, nobody else has. Both parties are a bunch of crooks. They have robbed us blind. One finance minister said, I know that these programs wasn't good for the country, but because it was election time, I just let it run. Isn't that gross mismanagement? Doesn't that sound like dereliction of duty? Doesn't it sound like so many different things that you can go to prison for? And he has retired heartily. I'm sure he's off somewhere enjoying his very hefty pension, government pension, with his family, while we are here suffering and struggling to feed ourselves, keep our businesses open, and keep our lives together because of the mismanagement over those 75 years. And again, 50 years across 16 IMF programs. And it continues. So, reach out to your dear minister and find out. The UIC is telling you, see if they'll respect you as a citizen of this country. See if they'll respect you as a taxpayer that they work for. And tell him about your poor road conditions and see if they will get addressed. I will do the same, and I will share my correspondence with you so you can see that the UIC lead by example. We're not afraid to talk to these individuals. They're not God to us. They are men. They put their pants 1 foot at a time, just like you and I. They work for us. We tell them what to do, and the UIC will continue to tell them what to do. And when the UIC's government, feel free to speak to us and tell us what you need done. As a matter of fact, our system of government, our non-partisan constitutional republic, is designed to be responsive to the people. Your elected representative, his only job will be to represent you. There will be no conflict of interest where he's minister of this and minister of that, and therefore use his ministerial responsibilities to shirk his responsibilities to you and enrich himself. No, or herself. No, the UIC system puts your elected representative job squarely on the front burner where he needs to report to you on a regular basis. When has you had a meeting with your constituency rep? Yes, it's COVID, he's going to say it's hard, but virtually. When was the last time? I've never had a meeting with my constituency rep since he was elected. As a matter of fact, I don't even know the gentleman. I've only seen him on TV. So, what is he doing with that hefty salary that he's getting as a member of parliament, including allowances for vehicles and gasoline, telephone allowance and all of that? And yet, they were in parliament a few months ago, clamoring for more money, saying that they have to be dipping into their pockets to give constituents. They should be ashamed of themselves to have said that, because the old adage holds true. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. And it shows the lack of respect for you when they want to feed you for a day and not for life. The UIC wants to feed you for life so you can fend for yourself and for your family, to create generational prosperity, not election prosperity where I feed you on election day. Nah, that's not the UIC way. We are, again, not career politicians, but well-meaning, patriotic Jamaicans. There for you, because we have been in the trenches, we have suffered at their hands, so we know what it takes to bring good governance to the table. Again, it is called a non-partisan constitutional republic. What it means is that you won't have opposition and government. What you will have, as our president has always advocated, is government, a group of people elected to lead in a particular direction, taking instructions from the people as to the direction to lead in, and making the technical choices to get us where we need to be. That is what we advocate for. That is what we will do. But let's just keep talking about how that money is going to be spent. This is definitely not going to be an easy time, because the UIC is not going to let them rob from you, steal from you, or anything like that. I mean, when we look at the average Jamaican struggling to eat, the government wants to waste money to spend $40 million to advertise. You have to wonder, where is their mind? Recently, a chartered accountant called out the government, and by extension, the BOJ, for wasting money on ads, informing people about the importance of low inflation. Now, isn't it more important to have low stable inflation than to have ads about low stable inflation? The BOJ just wanted to inject some money in the economy, so they spent money on ads. I find that senseless. Now, if the BOJ wanted to give the public information on inflation, they have the JIS and the Jamaica Public Broadcasting Corporation that can design those ads. That would be for free because they are already hired and working for the government, and they can run on those stations because those JIS has TV and radio stations, so does Jamaica Public Broadcasting Corporation. And when you're listening to the radio, you always hear that this program is brought to you in time allowed for government broadcast. Yes, time is allotted on radio, well, all broadcast medium, for the government to air their program. So there you go. Why do we need to spend millions upon billions of dollars in ad revenues? Somebody is getting money somewhere. That is an honest question. If you know, let us know. We'll look into it. You know, the UIC is not afraid. Okay? We will definitely look into it. We don't want any misunderstanding like the market me debacle. We want to be informed and we want to inform you. So why would we advertise? It is senseless. Look at what is going on. Businesses are closing. People are struggling to feed themselves. A whole industry shut down and several spin-off industries suffering, from farming to transportation to leisure. Everybody's suffering, but they want to spend money on ads. Senseless. Now, we have seen recently where there was a young prodigy that won a programming and coding contest, an 11-year-old out of Jamaica. And that had me thinking about my kids, because they're at that age, and I'm always saying to them, your computer is a tool. Use it as a tool and not solely for entertainment. Use it for productive pursuits. And this is me trying to get them into the mindset of not being consumers, being caught up in consuming things instead of looking at it as a productive unit, something to produce with. And this is again me trying to do my part to improve the mindset of the country. Hopefully, when I teach them that, they'll teach their friends. And somebody will take it seriously and do like young Dominic has done. And go out there and do something productive that brings value. And this is absolutely brilliant of the young man, because it's a world competition and he has won this competition. So I ask a question, because again, my kids are of that age. Why aren't there more persons in Jamaica like young Dominic? And it brings me to our education system. Just like our constitution, just like our legal and governmental system, it was all given to us as a gift from our colonial masters. So do you believe that the guy that had a whip to your back and had you in the field and considered you less than human would give you something that is of the best? Or would he give you something that he can manipulate, use, or continue to use? Why have we embraced it wholeheartedly and now seek to change it for the betterment of the country? That is why we are all consumers and not producers, because we don't teach our people what is necessary. We haven't retooled these corrupt institutions that we have gotten, that we've been gifted as a Trojan horse. And now we are reaping the bitter harvest. Our education system needs to be overhauled. I remember in my days in high school, computer science, as it was called, was for the affluent few. Yes, the affluent few. Poor kids like myself couldn't go to computer science. The first thing is that we couldn't afford not even floppy disk, because floppy disk was expensive during those times, to show you how old I am. Right? So it was for the affluent few. That's how segregated our school system was under the quiet. It was classist. And that still continued into the 80s and 90s and into present day, where you have so-called top tier school and lower tier school, when back in the days when you had secondary school and when you had technical schools, right? And even though they're trying to change and rebrand it, it's all a trickery, because the curriculum doesn't reflect any true, deep, meaningful change to bring our kids to the level of thinking. You don't educate kids in Jamaica. They don't. They teach them. And here's the difference. With an education, you learn to think, to problem solve, to be critical thinkers. When you're educated, you're given information. That's all they do, just give them information. They get a book, they swat it, go back and pass an exam, and then say yes. No, we need to find a way to bring practicum to our curriculum. Our universities need to be working universities. So on the subject matters that they are forefront of, they need to be working in the industry, be a part of the industry. They need to be considered working, learning universities, not just universities. And as one famous social pundit put it, intellectual ghettos. Persons are so proud of their university degrees, and I can understand that they work hard. But there's a critical shortfall. Again, a lack of practicum. I hear a lot of persons claiming to be experts, but they have not worked outside of the theoretical of the field. How can that be? How can we claim to be, want to be in the elite of the world, when we have nothing practical to offer, only theory. We're all theorists. That's all we are, glorified theorists. We need to change that. We need to change our education system. And that is why, after the constitution is changed, the UIC will continue its social rearrangement by making education and other institutions, healthcare, all of that work by creating a common sense solution where they become mainstream and are run by experts who understand how these institutions are to be run, where the government isn't acting as a gatekeeper, blocking some at the interest of those who have big monies and can support their party agenda. We are doing this in national interest, and the national interest should come first. We want to make Jamaicans truly patriotic. The government said that we're going to teach Garveyism in school. My daughter was doing a project on Marcus Garvey, and all she was asked to do was to do a research on Marcus Garvey's life. All right? If you want to do, there are other persons, other universities abroad that is doing more meaningful studies into Marcus Garvey than us, people of his country. And that's shameful. So we need more 11-year-olds to understand computer science. Computer science, as a matter of fact, is the way of the world. And our Prime Minister boasts about bringing coding to Jamaica. He should be ashamed of himself. If he was a forward thinker, coding would have been here a long time ago. As a matter of fact, all our leaders should be ashamed of themselves. Computer science has been on the cutting edge for decades. The dot-com boom, the Silicon Valley boom, all of that passed us by, and we have not done anything. There's no robotics being taught. There's no coding. There's nothing being taught in Jamaica. Nothing. At least not on a level that brings viability to our economy. So think about that. If the UIC sees all of this and knows that government is the problem, lack of good governance, you have people who are willing to invest in these things. But because they have to bribe this person, contribute to this party, kick back to this person, it becomes a hindrance. Again, look at the corruption perception index. Those things are what business people look at because it tells them the business climate that they face. And only corrupt business would want to do business in a country that is inherently corrupt, according to the perception index. And again, I'm not a corrupt person. Jamaica is not a corrupt place, just a mismanaged, misgoverned place. And that will change under the UIC. So just know that the UIC is looking to bring that change. Now, we talk about the government not being responsive. We know that. We talk about them being disrespectful to citizens. We know that. They have not responded to our letters to them. They have not. And court action that we are contemplating, court actions that we seek to bring against them, is being hampered by the current conditions. But we will prevail. We will persist. Just understand that. We wrote a letter to the Ministry of Health and we asked a simple question. Give us a listing of the PCR test machines that you have and give us the model numbers as well as the manufacturer recommended cycles for these machines. They have avoided us. They have not answered. It's simple. We know the questions to ask. We know the information to request, and we know the strength of that. As they said, knowledge is power. So they pretend to be silent. They ignore us. They use silence as a weapon because they don't want the information to come out, because it will expose them for the frauds and liars that they are. But the UIC is not afraid, and the UIC will continue to press these things on you. So if you want knowledge, information, want to reap the benefits of what your forefathers fought for, died for, bled for, stand with us as we stand for you. The UIC is for liberty. The UIC is for empowerment, economic empowerment of every single Jamaican. Every opportunity should be available to all equally, not a select few because of your class or your social standing or your perceived social standing. So check out our website, uicjamaica.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like, share, subscribe. Read the stuff. Ask us questions. We are the most open party you can find. We don't spin lines. You send us a question on Facebook, one of our vice president, president, or a member of our national executive committee will reply to you. You are guaranteed a reply within that day. You won't need to wait 3 weeks for response to a letter or response to a query. You want to know about the UIC? Ask us. We are open and available to you. We don't hide behind silence like the government, pretend to be busy. Right? I mean, how busy can we be when crime is overrunning the country and the national security minister has seconded his job to a crime oversight committee? What is he doing? Why he can't answer questions? But I bet if you point a camera in his direction and he gets to pose, he will pretend that he has time for you. That is the difference. The UIC isn't here for likes. We're here to work. So, thank you for joining me on UIC Liberty TV. This is Stone Cry, giving you the UIC solution while crying about the things that are wrong in our society. Again, just reminding you to like, share, subscribe. Also, check out the initiative with Vice President Devon Thompson, letting you know how the Constitution works and how it works against you as an ordinary citizen, and how it helps to perpetuate the corrupt governmental system that we are under. The Money Doctor, or Vice President, or President, sorry, Mr. Joseph Patterson, will be with you with his program. So look out for that, where he'll break down the money game that the government plays with us to help you understand how the macroeconomic and the microeconomy in our country should work. So thank you again for joining me on UIC Liberty TV. Take care. Stay blessed.